Hello and welcome to this week's Mystic Message. This week's Mystic Message is a pretty straightforward, straight to the point message, followed by a guided exercise to use this information and put it into practice. So the message is really around understanding the frequencies of different colors and how to kind of work with them, and what is happening collectively, energetically, and why we're being asked to maybe use a specific type of frequency to clear it out. So starting with the colors and that idea. So when we start to do energy work and we start to understand, chakras and the colors associated with them and energy and all of these different things, we have the chakras that correlate to colors. But oftentimes when we're talking about healing and transmuting energy, we typically use white as the visual, as the color. White ultimately is the culmination of all of the colors on the spectrum. When you merge them all to one, it creates white. And so sometimes if you're using energy or the visual of white to do energy work or to transmute something, you might kind of see those rainbows or pearlescent vibes. It might give you a feel of like a quartz crystal where you sometimes can see the rainbow, or even more like an opal where you kind of get like a little bit of the different colors. Sometimes there's an issue with using white. And the issue is white and the frequency that aligns with that color, because it's so high vibrational and it is this kind of culmination, it's very high. That's why it's associated with the crown chakra, right? The crown is, connected to source, to God, to the universe, to these more, higher realms. Angelic beings tend to look very white, right? White is very high vibrational, high frequency, high. Things that are at a lower frequency, the further apart two frequencies are, the more they clash and the more they can feel repulsed. So in a lot of scenarios, white as a visual or an intention transmutes a lot of lower vibrational frequencies that tend to look maybe black or dark or, muddy or murky or less vibrant. However, sometimes they're so opposing that it's like when you're trying to put the magnets together that are the ones that repel, right? When they're not the matching, like the opposites. Think of it just, not in the idea of the way magnets work, more so in the visual of like when you're trying to put them together and they just won't touch. They can't touch. They repel. Sometimes that happens with really dense or lower vibrational frequencies. And so sometimes, we bring in gold energy, which I find to be a good shift from white energy that can sometimes repel dense energy less. Because what happens is if you're taking, so say you have something really dense, it could be an emotion, it could be a program, it could just be stagnant energy in your field, and you bring in this white, this high vibrational frequency, you bring it in and this dense energy is like, and sometimes it resists it and sometimes it wants to go. It just doesn't want to accept it. It's in heavy resistance to it. And so what came through for this mystic message is the power of using some other colors sometimes. And I do this very intuitively. I don't ever go into a healing session or a group healing really choosing what things I'm going to do or colors I might use. I operate very guided. I'm just a vessel. I'm just a conduit. I'm letting, my higher self, somebody else's higher self kind of guide what is taking place. And so sometimes I use different colors, and what's coming up is collectively right now focusing on using red. So red, it correlates to the root chakra, which is the more dense, lower frequency part of our chakra system. It is more physical, right? That's why it's correlated to the root. It's correlated to our human self, our basic needs. that kind of vibe. And so what's coming in is we're being asked to use this red energy, and you just visualize red, and the frequency that correlates to red will automatically kind of flow in. Maybe if you're not a visual, just call in red, right? It's less distant from this dense energy than white. So if you have something really dense, and that's maybe vibrating here, white is way up here, and maybe that's like too much of a distance for this energy to really accept. But maybe red is kind of here. And so it's easier for that red to kind of infiltrate into that dense energy, to kind of break it up and to clear it out and to shift it. Hopefully that makes sense. Please, leave comments or let me know if this isn't making sense, because this is a subject we could go down so many deep rabbit holes on. Specifically, what's coming up collectively of why this red is showing up is the imprinted, in a way, memories. And I want to define what I mean when I say that, because everyone has different definitions for different terms, and that's just the phrase that came into me while I was channeling. It's essentially when we come into an incarnation here on Earth, into this third dimensional reality, anchoring into this planetary body, into these physical bodies that we're in, right? Within our reality is this kind of matrix program. And the way that I view it is, it's like, I don't necessarily believe we live in a simulation, but I do think there are simulation-esque components to our reality. There are rules and regulations, in a way, to our third dimensional reality. Otherwise, there would be no difference between third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and so on if there weren't these kind of rules, guidelines, qualities, properties to each dimension. And so part of the third dimension is our physicality, is feeling a little bit more separated from the higher dimensions, from source. It is a level of unique physicality separation, right? In higher dimensions, we're in less of a physical form, and we know who we are, and so we can't have the experiences we can have here on Earth. And so if these kind of rules and properties don't exist, we wouldn't have the experiences, right? We wouldn't feel certain emotions. For example, if we were in a higher dimension and we understood that, our bodies are just our bodies, and when someone dies, then that's just an energy kind of changing form, and we can still connect to that. In a higher dimension, in these higher realms, when you lose someone that you love, you're not quite as phased, because you know that they're still there, you know that they still exist, and you can still connect and communicate with them. In our reality, the level of disconnect we have from these kind of energetic forms allows us to feel deep grief. We can't experience that without this kind of detachment from the bigger picture in higher dimensions, if that makes sense. And so within the structure that is our third dimension, it's like there's these programs that are plugged into it, like a big computer, and these programs plugged in. And that's kind of what this matrix system is we're running these programs of, disempowerment, of fear, of control, of separation, of, every man for themselves, of suppression of the divine feminine, like all these components that, I talk about often, and a lot of other people talk about. And so what I'm calling these imprinted memories are, when we come into this incarnation, whether or not you have had a lifetime here on Earth, we kind of receive the imprint of certain experiences that humanity has gone through. And what's big time showing up is a lot of Atlantis era. So Atlantis and what took place, which in a nutshell is too far advanced technologically, too fast, where it was kind of a disconnect from themselves, their intuition, the planetary body, and balance, and everything went to shit, right? And so whether or not you've had a lifetime in Atlantis, and whether or not you have ancestral connections to Atlantis, which is a whole nother component. If you remember last week's message, we feel a lot of the imprint of that memory in us, in our cells, in our physical body, in our mental bodies, in our emotional bodies, in our energetic bodies, and in our etheric bodies. And so there are these kind of wounds, and I say that in quotes because everyone calls everything a wound, and it's, a trauma, a wound. It's programming within us based on an experience we didn't even have, but is such a part of this matrix and this earth and this reality, if that makes sense. And so those things, it's like they're being shooken up a little bit. These kind of imprinted memories. It's just the best, it's not the best phrase, honestly. It's the one that came to me, and that's why I wanted to really define it. And, the way that I see our healing and, things coming up to heal is like when, we're holding something like a trauma, low vibrational energy, a lower frequency emotion, program, whatever. They're dense, right? Think of it as like a black, dense energy. Maybe it's like sand. So think about like a big pitcher, like a pitcher that you would have water in, but maybe there's like this black sand sitting in the bottom of it. And there, it's been sitting there for so long. It's been sitting way at the bottom, right? That's so deeply in our subconscious and in our unconscious. It's, if it was closer to the surface, to the top of this pitcher, we would have more awareness of it. But it is so deep that we don't even understand that it's there, but it's there and it's dense and it's weighing us down. What ends up happening is, so imagine you poured some water into this pitcher and you started to stir it. Now those particles at the bottom are starting to get closer to the top. They're moving and they're getting closer to the surface. That allows us to clear it out easier. It's easier to pour out that water now when it's all mixed in and it's closer to the surface, and to remove that, to clear out that dense energy, than when it's been stuck to the bottom of this pitcher for who knows how long, and it's caked on there and we don't even know how to find it, right? Maybe you pour the water in but you don't stir it up and it doesn't mix, and you pour the water back out and you're like, oh, I guess there's nothing in there. But it is, we just didn't stir it up. And so basically, naturally, innately, through, whether it's solar flare energy, shifts happening planetarily, collectively as human beings, this stuff is getting stirred up. This, Atlantean and some other kind of ancient wounds along those lines are getting stirred up. And so it's an opportunity to purge it out. You don't have to know what it is. You don't have to dive deep. Sometimes going too deep can re-traumatize, especially when it's not even your trauma to begin with. It's just something that's just a part of the species of human beings here on Earth, anchored into this earthly body. And so what's coming through is to use red to do the healing, to do the energy work, to do the purging, the clearing for this stuff. And so we'll do a quick little exercise. You can do this on your own time. You can take it and morph it and do whatever. What I would suggest first, because these imprinted memories exist in many of our bodies, right? Our physical body, it's existing in. They're existing in our mental body, our emotional body, our energetic body, which houses our chakras and our aura and our meridians. And it's also existing in our etheric body, which is the body that kind of houses our fractals. And it's existing in all these bodies. And so we kind of want to call all these bodies back in first. I'm not going to do that in this exercise. I have a 15-minute audio transmission that does that. And it's free. So I'm going to leave the link to that in the comments. Go through, do this. It's called a soul stream, which is a 15-minute transmission to do a lot of, energetic work in the system on a deep subconscious level. It's 15 minutes and it's free. It's called Restoring Harmony. So I would suggest you're going to have the best impact if you do that first, because what happens is if our bodies are disconnected, right? If I'm out of my body and my emotional body's maybe over here and we do this work, it's not hitting all of the bodies. But if we layer all those bodies back in and then do this exercise, it's hitting all of them. And so it's a bigger bang for your buck. Work smarter, not harder. Efficient, right? So take a few moments, take a few deep breaths, On your exhale, let the breath just flow to any part of your body that's holding tension, that's feeling tight, maybe feeling any sort of resistance. Just being very present in your body. But again, do this kind of exercise, calling in the bodies first, if you can. And then come back to this video, taking these nice deep breaths. And whether or not you are, a good visualizer or not, if you can visualize it, you visualize it. If you're not a good visualizer, you speak it into reality. You call it in through your words, or through your intention, or you feel it in your body, right? Use whatever that is strongest for you in the way that, energy moves through you, and you can kind of guide it, whatever way that works best for you. So take one more nice deep breath in. Exhale, spread it through the body, relax the shoulders, the neck, the hands, the feet, the hips, the back. And then I want you to imagine and call in red. Visualize and imagine the color red coming into your feet, surrounding your feet, spreading around the ground, the earth, wherever your feet are, coming in through the bottoms of your feet, and start to flow. Fill your feet, fill your toes with this red. And then allow that red to start spreading up through your legs, up through your knees, through your thighs, your hips, and your pelvis. And let your body move. Sometimes we need to kind of sway or move to kind of open up a space to let that energy flow in. And let this red flow up in through your kind of your womb space, your lower back, the lower part of your spine. Your digestive tract. And then allow the red to keep going up further to your abdomen, your mid-back, the organs that are hanging out in this area, your kidneys, your liver, your spleen, all of these spaces, the middle part of your spine, just filling with this red. And allow that red to come up even further, up into your chest, into your upper back, flowing into your heart, into your lungs, flowing through all of these chakras as it goes as well. Your major chakras, your minor chakras, the meridians in your body, your bones, your bloodstream, your emotional body, your mental body, all of the spaces up into your shoulders and down your arms and into your hands. And up through your throat and your neck, and into your head, feeling it flow into your brain, through your nervous system, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth. Then I want you to get up and just move intuitively. It could be like stretching. It could be maybe some yoga postures. It could be dance. It could be something silly that maybe your child would do. That's like flowy, just whatever you feel called to. Let it move in through your body. Let it penetrate every inch of your spinal column. Invite it into all of the programs in your body, into all of the belief systems in your body. Invite it into your nervous system, into all of the neural pathways that exist, and allow it to spread through your body, through that nervous system. And allow it to go deep into your cells, every type of cell in your body. Take one nice, beautiful inhale. And on your exhale, spread all of this red energy right into your aura. So it spreads beyond your bodies, filling the aura, filling this space around you. And just allow it to settle into whatever layer of your aura it wants to. Let your legs move. Don't resist. Stomp if you need to. Do some ankle rolls. Maybe you got to get up and jump. And then I want you to, once this video ends, just give yourself another couple minutes to be in this kind of zone. Go outside. Feel the sun shine on you, allowing this red to continue to penetrate deeper through every bit of your being. And let your body move, again, intuitively. Not being guided by the mind and what your mind thinks you should do. Just very intuitively. It doesn't have to be pretty. And then just allow yourself to be. Just settle into being outside, feeling grounded. Take your shoes off, take your socks off, go stand on that earth and touch a tree, and let this integrate. And just allow yourself to be guided and drawn to any colors moving forward that you feel called to use. It doesn't always have to be white, it doesn't always have to be gold, it doesn't have to be anything. Let it flow, let whatever needs to flow, flow. All right. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you next week.